Hey there, cats and kitties. I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, I'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 7 of the anime series Roka no Yusha. And we're seeing in this episode the chief amongst proponents for placing blame and suspicion on everyone else has to be Hans. I mean, he is bringing up everybody, every reasoning he can to, put suspicion on first Adlet. Now Adlet's on the run. Then Flamey when she comes back. Everything like that. And it's interesting that because, of course, Nashtania, who has, viewers suspicious of her, she too feels like he could be the seventh. He could be the false among the six braves. And it's just this episode, what really pulled me in was like the introspective and reflective nature, calling back on the pasts of Adlet and Flamey respectively, just through the roof, utmost compelling, because of course we're seeing Adlet, much as was my speculation in the previous episode discussion video where we saw the flashbacks to his meeting this Athros Spiker on the mountaintop and wanting to be, trained by him, this big Odin-looking thuggy dude and everything, whom, by the way, Flamey has heard of this guy, and she says what she's been told is anyone who has ever sought to be trained by him, they gave up. It was too much for them to handle. Adlet is the soul among them that, he kept up with it. He is the strongest man in the world because he didn't back down from this insane training of this guy. So, but as I speculated, it was utmost loss. That is the fuel for Adlet in the fact that he lost his friend, and what I thought was his mother, his elder sister. We don't really know what happened to his mother and father as yet. At least I don't think they've spoken about it, to my recollection. But, he and his friend are just chilling one day outside their village when this fiend comes along, and you think it's going to go on the attack, and it's just sort of like, well, hello, boys, how you doing? All genial. And he walks into this village, and he's like, look, you're going to move your entire village to the realm of the demon god. You're going to like it. You're going to love it. That's where you're going to be fitted. You're going to worship him from now on. Otherwise, suffer, torture, death. These are your choices. These are your options. And of course, nobody in this town, this village, is happy about that. But it seems one thing leads to another, and Adlet is the sole survivor among them. And of course, he then has this driving force. What's very interesting is it's his contention. It's not a sort of revenge, a sense of seeking vengeance. It's more wanting to never lose anyone again, wanting to never have anyone else be in that position again. Very much the Squall Leonhardt plight from Final Fantasy VIII. He was a character who lost it all, very much like Adlet. And he started distancing himself from everyone around him because he didn't want to feel that sense of loss, that sense of betrayal if somebody was taken. And Adlet is going through all of these things. It's very interesting that he doesn't so much, lament his lack of ability in protecting them as much as why weren't they strong enough not to be taken from me? And I don't ever want to go through that again. And I want to protect everyone else and make sure they never go through what I went through is his driving force. He wants to protect Flamey and Nashtania. He wants to protect all of the six braves from the demon god, even though he is the chief, most, suspicious among them, according to all of them. And he's just an honorable, compassionate character, but there is still aspects of his nature that it's very interesting. Much as I, called to light in my previous video and maybe a couple videos, he is, as Flamey points out, sort of just an average man. He's like the Batman. He doesn't have any superpowers. He has all these tricks and all these gimmicks and all these things. And that's what he utilizes. And she almost can't wrap her mind around, well, if you have all this stuff, how exactly are you the strongest man in the world? What is that about? And I think there's more to be said for his internal strength. It's not just physical prowess. It's not just muscles. It's not just, how badass he can throw down. It's also the strength to keep moving, in the face of adversity, in the face of bad circumstances, keeping that smile on his face, much as was the call of the last episode. And very much a parallel to him is Flamey, which lives up much to my speculations, although kind of redirected pointedly, where her focus is. It's not so much on the demon god, but her own fiend mother. And that, to me, was absolutely just mind-blowing and compelling because, of course, she's talking about the human side of her, the human emotions, the fact that she is a half-breed fiend and human. She was brought up trained, and the focus was, her entire purpose for being was to take out the heroes of the world and make the world succumb to the demon god's realm and power and all that kind of stuff. But because of the human side, there was a familial connection to her mother, to the fiends around her. She felt loved. She felt cared for. She goes out into the world. She tries to accomplish this first of many goals of many heroes to take down Shamo, and she fails. She doesn't get a scratch on her, according to Flamey. And she returns not to open welcoming arms. Okay, honey, you can go out and try again. It's, you're useless. We wasted our entire time. Your function, it's null. There is no point to you. No love, no familial nature, no welcoming and compassionate hearth to come back to. It's simply, you're nothing. It's not even we're disappointed in you. It's that just you're garbage and you're going to be destroyed, And for that lack of love, for that, almost specious, it could have been specious in her own mind that she was perceiving a love that wasn't really there to begin with. But she felt it, whether it was real or not, and it was all lies. And it's because of those lies, while she is making the case that she doesn't have something propelling her, like Adlet does, in wanting to save the world in a sense, she doesn't believe she has an impetus or a goal, something fueling her, but she really does. And it's spoken by her, though she doesn't seem to equate one with the other. It's solely, I want to take the demon god down because my mother's whole wish for me was to do his bidding, was to do good for him. And I want to show my mother, who lied, who didn't really care about me, who didn't really love me, who had no compassion for me whatsoever. I was nothing to her. I want her to see the fruits of her labor. I want her to understand when I destroy the demon god in those final moments, this is what you've sown. And that just, oh man, it's like, it adds so much more depth, even though it lines up significantly with, my speculation for Flamey's impetus in being here. The fact that it's not so much the demon god she blames, but her mother, the one who bore her, and, the lies and deceit and all that stuff, the manipulation that was involved. It's very much in line with my speculation, but it's even more pointedly toward a focus, which she doesn't feel she has. And, of course, what really shocked me was she decides to go back to the temple. Like, everyone's gunning for Adlet, of course. They think he is, the seventh, the false among them, the guilty party, if you will. But I really didn't think they'd welcome her back with open arms because they, you have Hans there, as I say. He's trying to put the blame on everyone. As soon as Flamey comes back, that's his first thing. He's talking about, oh, you fought? You mean he got away? You didn't have your weapon? Sure, he didn't like you and you didn't start liking him and you're so similar. All these things. He's playing mind games, trying to put the blame on Flamey now. And you have Nausha Tania just sort of eyeing him, which is very interesting because, of course, Mora puts this whole thing together where they're all going to split up into pairs. Somebody's got to stay behind, at the temple in case Adlet comes back, but they're going to go looking for him. And of course, once Adlet catches wind of this, he's very sort of nervous that, well, the seventh and potentially an eighth, this is a perfect opportunity. One of those pairs is going to be a Brave and the seventh, and something could happen and they'll blame him and everything. And he walks smack dab after this realization, and after we see that, Nausha Tania pointedly tells Guldov she does not believe that Adlet is the guilty party at all. She believes it's Hans. Well, who does he walk right into before he can even get inside the temple? There is Hans, the assassin, and the fight begins. It was a very brief sort of fight. Adlet really put up a good amount of fight. I mean, using some of his skills and some of his special gimmicks and appliances, as I say, the smoke bombs and everything. But of course, the way Hans is, what his nature is he's going to see that coming. He even says that. You're not going to fool me twice. So, of course, we end off with this cliffhanger of Hans finally besting Adlet and straddling him with a blade ready to go right into his chest or his head or whatever he's going to do. And it's just like, whoa, man. I don't exactly know where my suspicions are pointed toward as far as which character do I think, I still kind of am leaning toward Flamey just because of her drive and her wanting, in a sense, to seek revenge, to take down the demon god and make that case to her mother. This is your fault. There's still a level of Adlet being maybe here by mistake, but I started to wonder with all the, flashbacks to this guy, Stryker or whatever, or Spiker, I really started to wonder, like, could this have lined up where, they knew this kid had already suffered losses, they knew he had strength within him, and the whole scenario has been to try to mold him into this kind of warrior or something like that. Like, maybe he was trained to become as strong as he was by a proponent of the demon god. The purpose would be to change him over at the last second and make him the proponent to have the world succumb to, I don't know, it's like there's so many ways it can go. And of course, Nashtania, having that moment where Gulduf, he as Adlet and Hans are going at it back at the temple, he points to that. He's like, didn't you hear something back there? And she's like, no, I believe it's Hans, let's go find proof. There are little things here and there that these characters do. We see Shemo, she wants to go out and play in the woods or whatever while this is all going on, while they're going to search for him. And she's kind of like, I don't know if she's playing with snakes or if there's some kind of thing that she's doing that's emanating from her, but it seems suspicious the way they linger on it. And they're very smart in that they linger on these little character things where it's like, well, why did they do that? Why did they linger on Nashtania walking away and Gulduf being like, why did they have Shemo playing with whatever it is she's playing with, doing, whatever she's doing in the woods? What about this verbal exchange? The exchanges between not only Adlet and Flamey, but Adlet and Hans toward the end of the episode, and all this stuff. I mean, it's just highly intriguing, and I don't feel any more, satisfaction as far as that any one of my speculations could be right or wrong. It could still go any which way as a viewer. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below what you thought of this episode in particular, and, who you think, who your speculations point toward as far as being the guilty party, the seventh. Do you think there's a seventh and eighth, as Adlet has purported he believes, and such like that? Did you love the episode? Did you have as much fun with it as I did? If not, why not? Let me know in the comments below. Love having the conversation with you guys. And so, yeah, otherwise that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Bring on the next episode. Can't wait to see what happens next. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.